Welcome to part 9, system configuration. So far you've done everything you need to do to get your peak cooling and heating loads. Now you're going to configure your systems, which is required to get your coil sizing, or in other words, size your equipment. When you go to the configuration tab, you'll see an automatically generated single line diagram. When you click on a unit and hit configure, or when you double click a box, you'll see the configuration tab pop out. We're doing things a little bit different with HVAKR. Instead of selecting from a list of different system types, you actually get to configure the system yourself. So we provided you with a diagram and you choose which components are present on the central level and the terminal level. This makes it more intuitive to model your system, provides more flexibility, and provides more transparency into what's actually being modeled. Let me give you a couple examples of how you can do this. One example is to configure a system with a central air handling unit and VAVs with reheat. To do that, I would turn on my return air, my outside air, say just a cooling coil for this example. And then once the central unit is configured as so, I have a few more inputs. I can specify leakage. I can choose what my outside air method is. For the coil, I can choose what the source of cooling is. Provide a few more inputs and specify any additional system inefficiencies that I want to account for in my loads. The other system inefficiencies could be used to capture coil bypass, or you can use it as a safety factor if you want. Once the central unit is set up for my system, I can move on to my terminal units. You can select all units at once and configure them simultaneously. So this is going to be VAV with reheat, so I'm going to turn on my heating coil. And specify my temperatures. Now I've configured a system where I have a central air handler with a cooling coil, followed by VAVs with a reheat coil. I'll show you another example. I can go back and I can configure the system for DOAS with fan coil units. I'm going to turn off my return air, so it's outside air only. For this example, the heating and cooling is going to be on the terminal unit level only. So right now I have outside air going into my central unit, and that is it. Now, for my terminal units, I'm going to set this up as a fan coil unit by turning on return air. This becomes the return air from the space. This becomes the air from the central unit, or effectively your outside air. And I'm going to make sure I have my cooling and my heating coils on. For each terminal unit, I specify the outside air method and the type of cooling, my temperatures, and my heating. I just showed you 2 examples of how you can configure your system, but this setup is very flexible and you can modify it to achieve whatever you need. Once your system is configured, you have what you need to get CFMs and coil sizing, and we're on to our next step, air balancing.